My name is Angela Nsimbi. I'm a mental health activist and somebody who has a lived experience with mental illness. I'm very passionate about mental health, and I also desire so much to see our country pay more attention to mental health issues. I want to see our community, our country, free of stigma and discrimination. I want to see us give equal opportunities to people who have psychosocial disabilities. And I want also to see tolerance and love and compassion within families. And because when I talk about my own experience, where I am today because of family support. I've been supported by my husband, I've been supported by my sisters. They would help me take turns to look after the children. And in turn, I also started a support group, which is a heart-to-heart chat, mental health support group. And in this group, I also use it, we share our stories, our lived experiences, so that we are able to encourage ourselves to live fulfilled lives and also show the world that a diagnosis is not the end of our lives and a diagnosis is not a death sentence. And in this group, we are able to meet, caregivers come and attend, peers at different levels of recovery also come and attend, even other professionals in different areas, as long as they are passionate about mental health. So us working together with the Bipolar Rotary Club is a privilege. It's a privilege because many people normally pay attention when Rotary also pays attention to something. So we are very happy and very delighted that Rotary Club, Bipolar Royals, identifies with the mental health cause. We are very, very delighted. We are very excited about this partnership, and we are looking forward to seeing community mental health-based services thriving, because even World Health Organization clearly states that people feel more secure within the communities, people feel safer within the communities. And when I relate it to also my recovery, the first time I got a mental breakdown, I remember the doctor insisting and asking my husband, will you give your wife medication? Because if you don't, then we shall have to admit her. And I remember he committed to make sure I got my medication during that crisis. And that's the only time that doctor allowed me to be at home. So I didn't have to be admitted in hospital. So this is why I've mentioned this, is to show that I could actually recover faster from home. And as long as we put certain facilities in place and promote community mental health-based organizations to provide support for people in the safety of their homes, in the safety of their communities, more and more people will get better, more awareness, and people will only be taking people to hospital when there is a real serious crisis. So my message to people out there is because we are celebrating the World Mental Health Day in Uganda, November 10th, my message is let us show more compassion and let our governments pay attention to prioritizing giving budgets, money, putting the money in providing better services, mental health services, making sure treatment is accessible, making sure support is accessible. We can no longer hide our heads under the sun because COVID-19 made it clear. Many people had to pay attention to the crisis of mental health. I mean, some people were struggling and others actually committed suicide, and lives can be saved if we pay attention and give the necessary support. That is my stand. Thank you. basically, like I was saying, that mental health illness, when you have got the diagnosis, it is not a death sentence. Just because the doctor has made a diagnosis, it's not the end of the world. Due to the mental health crisis, I felt led to write my book, Breaking Free, and document my journey on my recovery with bipolar. And the reason why I felt that this is something which is important, because we don't have a lot of literature by Africans, by Ugandans, documenting mental health issues. And this is actually a first. It is a first for Ugandans to have a documented story from a lived experience, from somebody with a lived experience. So I felt when more people read this book, more people are able to relate to the situation, because I talk about my seasons as a young mother. I talk about the season when I was pregnant, and seasons when I had to take, they call them drug holidays, seasons when I had to check in with my doctor while I'm carrying the pregnancy, because the doctor had to help me on that journey and let me know how do you cope with the pregnancy and yet you're on medication. Because along the way, I had to go back on medication during this pregnancy. It was my last pregnancy. And when I went back on that medication, he had to monitor me and help me discontinue 3 weeks before my baby was born. So why I'm sharing part of these details is because some people will wonder, if I've been diagnosed with a mental illness, will I ever have a family? They will wonder, how can I carry the pregnancy to full term and the baby is safe? And that's why one of the things I advocate for is to ensure that mental health treatment and care and support is also integrated in maternal health care. And all these things I write in my book, and it is really a voice from somebody who has walked the journey, but I also incorporate the voice of my husband as the caregiver. I incorporate the voices of my children who are old enough to understand at the time, and basically to show people that we cannot ignore mental health and we cannot ignore the mental health crisis. It is time for us to pay attention. I want to give a word of advice and also encouragement to caregivers, is that when you find a loved one behaving in a way you don't understand, don't be too rash, don't be too angry, because sometimes, I mean, we are all human. Sometimes you might react the wrong way. You might be rude. Sometimes you might even employ violence. But you have to find out, why are they doing what they are doing? Try to understand the situation, and sometimes it might need, maybe sometimes you might not even know that it's a mental illness, but as long as you see, this person isn't sleeping well enough these days, this person no longer wants to work, this person no longer wants to look presentable, and yet they used to care about themselves. Instead of beating, instead of bad-mouthing them, get them support. Sometimes you don't need to tell them that you're taking them to a psychiatrist. You can go to hospital, because this one I'm telling you out of my own experience. Somehow you don't like it when someone says psychiatrist, the stigma is still there. You hate the word psychiatrist, but then you can tell the person, let's go to the doctor. Don't say psychiatrist, because the person is still at a stage where they have not yet internalized their situation, their crisis, and they are still maybe at a place of denial. So be supportive without necessarily saying the word psychiatrist. Be supportive without demeaning them. Listen to them and also allow them to participate in chores that they can manage. Because one thing I kept doing at home, when I couldn't go to work, I made sure I kept cleaning the house. I made sure I cooked meals for my children, so that I wasn't looked at as somebody to be pitied. So you need to support these people who are struggling. Support, give the necessary support, and allow them to make their contribution, because they are still useful, they still have a lot to give, but they need to be encouraged to do it. And slowly by slowly, they will get there. Get them involved and to be part of a support group. Also, you as a caregiver, get involved in to be a part of a support group, because you cannot support somebody when you don't understand the situation. And you cannot support anyone when you do not know what is happening to them anyway. Also, you read. My husband did that a lot. Read widely about your loved one's condition. Read and be empowered so that you are in position to support the person better. And also this is to encourage caregivers, because I have interacted with many people at different levels of recovery, but I'm telling you, people actually recover. I start with myself because, I'll definitely speak confidently about myself. Other people might not be willing to come out yet to share their stories, but people are working. Some are actually medical doctors, some are engineers, they are in your homes, others are teachers, others are lawyers. They are on medication, but they are still working. They are still running their homes, they still have marriages, they still have children to look after, and they are contributing to society. So do not give up on your loved one. They can still make a difference. Support them. They will be better than you ever dreamed.